Hello, and welcome once again to Movies That Pop. I'm the Kernel, welcoming you to this special edition of Movies That Pop. There's no denying it, Harry Potter is hotter than ever. With the expansion of the wizarding world of Harry Potter Land at Universal Studios Orlando, the opening of the same land at Universal Studios Hollywood, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them opening in theaters this week, and a hit play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, making audiences cheer both on the London stage and at the bookstore, I thought it was well past time to take a tour through the Harry Potter films, ranking them from worst to best. There are 8 movies to cover here and not much time, so grab onto your port keys and let's get started. Now, it speaks to the quality of the series as a whole that the film that lands at the bottom of this list is still a pretty darned enjoyable movie. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. If you've seen my reviews of Hunger Games, Mockingjay, or Allegiant, you know my feelings on this trend. Studios that got greedy when they arrived at the end of a successful franchise and split the final book into 2 movies just to make more money. Invariably, it's a way for them to just get away with charging you full price for half a story. Well, you can sort of blame the Harry Potter series for that, because they were the first franchise to do this. It all came from a pretty good place, though, as J.K. Rowling's massive final book was pretty dense with story and new mythology that deepened the story's themes and the characters' personal histories. Fans of the books actually rejoiced that more of their beloved material would make the cut after the hatchet job that was done on Order of the Phoenix. More on that later. The problem was, while the Deathly Hallows chapters combined to make an amazing 4.5-hour epic with plenty of breathing room for the story, most of that breathing room comes here, in the first half, which made the theatrical viewing experience an intriguing but head-scratching one. Relationships are deepened, emotions are felt, there is a really cool heist sequence, and the teenage characters get to bond with each other, have a nice little slow dance together, and ruminate on their newfound maturity. And then the movie just sort of stops. After it's spent 2.5 hours setting up every major loose end of the series, it just ends, setting the stage for the final chapter to come in and supply all the action, resolution, and satisfaction that you have come to expect at the end of a well-told story. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is the bread, soup, and vegetable course. Part 2 is the meat, potatoes, and dessert. Number 7 is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, the one that felt the most uneven in tone to me. This second film had content that was much darker and scarier. Giant spiders, giant basilisks, the introduction of Parseltongue, and the horrifying fate of little Ginny Weasley. The kids take on scarier threats in later films perhaps, but here it's harder to handle because they are still very much children and still look it. Also, this film stumbles in the introduction of Gilderoy Lockhart, a paper-thin character who takes up a lot of screen time despite having minimal impact on the story and sort of a Scooby-Doo twist to his character that never quite landed for me. Number 6 in both the book series and this series of films, and on this list, is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Now this one tells the story with the smallest scope, but it still clocks in over 2 hours. Essentially, it's focused on introducing the core concept of the Horcrux.
I read something rather odd about a bit of rare magic. It's called, as I understand it, a Horcrux.
Which will be vitally important in the saga's final stretch, and everything in the story revolves around very small, centralized missions. Harry must learn about Horcruxes, which will be the linchpin to defeating He Who Must Not Be Named, and he must extract a certain memory from Professor Slugworth. And this quest more or less forms the core of the movie's plot, until you realize that Malfoy has been engaging in a quest of his own the whole time, which facilitates a pretty shocking death in the final reel. Now, the simplicity of the story actually works in its favor, because with less ground to cover, the story unfurls with a more deliberate pace. Also, extra bonus points for introducing 2 of my favorite magical concepts of the entire series, the Felix Felicis, or Liquid Luck Potion, and the Pensive, which allows you to store and completely revisit your own memories, and those of another person as well. More than anything else in the Harry Potter universe, I really wish I had one of those things. Number 5 is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and this is the one that hurt the most in the transition from book to screen. How in the heck did the longest of all the books, by far, get whittled down into the shortest of the films? Or at least at that time it was. Huge sections of the book, some of which were beloved by readers like me. For example, remember Ron's Quidditch career? That was a lot of fun on the page, and it was completely excised, and the movie, which is still over 2 hours, feels sort of like a breezy greatest hits version of the book, rather than the complete story. But what hits they were! The big finale at the Ministry of Magic, the Room of Requirement, Harry's first kiss, oh, and of course the introduction of the vile toady, Dolores Umbridge. I'm not gonna lie, I must not tell lies. She still gives me the willies. Number 4 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the one that started it all. And there is an awful lot of exposition to get out of the way here, which makes this movie feel bloated and inconsequential. Think about it. While introducing the entire magical world to audiences, they also had to introduce a dozen or more main characters and the relationships to each other, the Hogwarts house system, the points system, the rules of Quidditch, the terminology like muggles, and the whole mythology of Harry, his scar, and he who must not be named. Is there any room in there for an actual plot? No, not really, and what plot there is resolved pretty quickly. This one also feels the most like a kid's movie, and the least like a full narrative. But it certainly did its job, hooking a generation on the world of magic and setting the stage for better adventures to come. So in my mind, that bumps it up a couple spots on the list. Number 3 is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Now this is where the film started to feel a little more mature. Directed by the great visual stylist Alfonso Cuarón, who would later win an Oscar for directing Gravity, Azkaban would deepen the mythology of Harry's origin story with the addition of Peter Pettigrew, Sirius Black, and the amazing David Thewlis as Professor Lupin. Extra bonus points for the introduction of the Marauders map, the Patronus charm, and, oh yeah, time travel. Boom! Freaking time travel! Woo! Number 2 is the grand finale, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. As I previously mentioned, this is the half of the last book that really gets all the fireworks. Revelations are made, huge battles are waged, hearts are broken, and mysteries are resolved. Here, everyone's fate is decided, and just about everybody gets one or multiple moments to shine. Also, so much death. So much death! If the Battle of Hogwarts and everything that happened there just formed the entire film, you'd have a great time at the movies just by itself. But recall, there's also a sweet heist of Gringotts Bank and that perfect short film that unfolds when Harry puts Snape's memories into the pensive. You know what I'm talking about. Just perfect. And number 1 is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Now, this one I think is the quintessential Harry Potter film. It tells a full story from beginning to end, but abounds in surprising developments that have repercussions for the whole series. This is also where the coming-of-age journey of adolescence really reaches its boiling point, with the John Hughes-style prom sequence and the burgeoning hormones that come with it. Once more, we see the magical world get wider by meeting representatives from other schools across Europe, and if that weren't enough, if hunky-centric dickery wasn't enough, if the Tri-Wizard Tournament with its killer mermaids and dragon chase weren't enough, if the introduction to Mad-Eye Moody weren't enough, and tell me honestly, just how awesome is Mad-Eye Moody's lesson on the 3 unforgivable curses? Go back and watch it, it's awesome.
Talented, isn't she? What should I ever do next? Jump out the window? Drown herself? Scores of witches and wizards have claimed that they only did you-know-who's bidding under the influence of the Imperious Curse. But here's the rub. How do we sort out the liars?
Then this one fact certainly is enough to put it over the top. After 3 whole films of waiting, we finally got to see he who must not be named, the major villain of the series. Here he is, the Dark Lord himself, Voldemort! Voldemort, as played by Ralph Fiennes, and in his one brief scene near the end, he lived up to 4 films worth of hype and set the stage for the back half of the series. If there is one film that sums up everything that's great about the series, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is just that, the quintessential Harry Potter film. That does it for this edition of Movies That Pop. Don't forget to follow me, the Kernel, on Twitter at Movies That Pop, and click the icon right down there to visit our channel if you'd like to see more, and support us by clicking subscribe while you're there, and by clicking the thumbs up icon below. Please leave your own personal lists in the comments as well. I'd love to hear what you guys think. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I'm the Kernel, and I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.